So let's now define the final two methods for our case study for the student management system. So far we have seen quite many complicated stuff, but now I would like to conclude by adding two more methods and with a limit tracing together with you to make it complete. So what I would like to do now is I'm going to say, given a student, let's say for example S1, Sanhei, which got 3 courses registered so far, so we got NOC equal to 3. So let's say we got 3 courses for Sanhei, 2030, 1021, and 3311. Initially, we simply got 0, 0, 0 for the marks when she was first registered. And then eventually we're going to set the marks for Sanhei to be some marks over here. And then we want to calculate the letter grade for individual course. For example, if that's 60, that should be C. If that's 80, that should be A. And then at the student level, we want to say also, when we get a description for the students, we want to know what the GPA is, which will be the grade point average. Given the letter grade for individual course, we want to convert the letter grade into grade points, and then we want to add up the grade points between the courses and take the average of them. That's something we want to do. Simple computation, but it's going to be interesting to see how that can be done in the context of objects. So let's do that quickly. Okay. So now, first of all, I would like to go to the CourseRecord class over here. So what I would like to do over here is to include the get letter grades over here. And then once I have the get letter grade method done, I'm going to include the letter grade as part of the get description method over here to get more information out for the description for the objects. Okay. So now for the get letter grades, I'm going to put it over here. Okay, let's say right after set instructor. Let's say have letter grades will be a string rather than character, because A plus will be more than 2 characters. So now I would say string get letter grade over here, and over here I simply leave the parameter list over here as empty, because you can see that to really figure out the letter grade, all I need would be this marks. That's all I need. Okay, so you can see this marks refer to the attribute over here. That's all I need. I don't need any extra inputs. Okay, all I need to know is how to convert from numerical marks into letter grades. Let's say this. Let's say I'm going to declare some local variable the same as the return type. So I'm going to say string, let's say LG, and initially just empty string. Let's say. Okay, let me get rid of that empty semicolon there, and eventually going to say return LG, the letter grades. Okay, so now how do we convert? Very easy. We just do an if then else statement. We did something similar for the selection. So we can say if this marks is larger than or equal to 90, in that case we're going to say LG is reassigned to A plus. Else if this marks is larger than or equal to 80, we're going to get LG assigned to, let's say, A. Let's not worry about B plus or C plus. Let's keep it a little bit simple. Else if this marks larger than or equal to 70 over here, letter grade would be B. And else if this marks larger than or equal to 60, in that case LG will be reassigned to C. Okay, so now let's do a little bit more. Else if, let's say, this marks larger than or equal to 50, in that case LG will be reassigned to D. Let's say anything else that's below will be failure, let's say. Otherwise, in this case, we know that it's going to be less, strictly less than 50. Okay, let me make a note for you. It's going to be strictly less than 50. And then LG is simply going to be assigned to F. Okay, so now how do we include this information over here as part of the description for the course record? Let's say we simply just include the letter grade always. Let's say. So what we can do over here is you have two options over here. You can either say when initially we have no instructor, we simply don't include any letter grades. Okay, or we always include a letter grade. It's completely up to you. Let's say initially when there's no instructor just yet, let's say we don't really include a letter grade as the information. Otherwise, when the instructor does exist, we're going to say what a letter grade is. Okay, just for fun. So now we'll say over here, the row marks is going to be this marks plus. Okay, and then I'm going to say letter grades and plus this dot get letter grade. Okay, you can see that's something you want to really learn from here. You can see inside this particular method over here, I'm basically calling get letter grade in the same class. That's why I'm using the word this over here. I'm using this to call so that some computation can be done, and we're gonna use the return value from this accessor method. Always, if you want to get some value to be returned, use the accessor method. Okay, so now let's give it a try. If I just go to I want to create a new tester, just make things simple. I want to recreate what's going on over here. Okay, so now what I will do is, can I right-click on copy? Right-click on student tester 4, and then we'll say copy over here, and then we also say right-click and then say paste. Okay, so we're gonna get student tester 5. That's all we're gonna get. Okay, we're gonna start from that and gonna simplify it. Okay. Can we just double click on student tester 5, and then from there, so we're gonna make it simple. So we're only going to keep student 1, okay, S1 over there, and then we're going to say S1 is going to be registered for 2030, 1021, and 3311, 3 courses, and also CR3 over here. And then we're gonna get rid of this. All we're gonna focus on will be the description for the objects over here. So now let's say after being registered for the courses, no instructor just yet. Okay, so we're gonna say system.out.println over here. If we say GPA, so we can say S1.get description over here. So what will we get? So now we want to know exactly what the output will be for this get description method from the student class, because S1 was declared to be of type students. Is the letter grade going to be included in this particular setup over here? Okay, you can see currently the course record over here has no instructor to be set up, right? The instructor will just be null, as we can see from the tester code over here. And also to remind you very quickly, if you see the student class over here in the get description method, we simply just go over the array of the courses over here, iteration number 0, iteration number 1, iteration number 2, right? The loop counters value. Okay, and for each one of them, we're simply just going to go for the corresponding course array index and then get a description on the corresponding course record objects, right? That's something we traced previously. So now, is each of these course record going to be printed out for their letter grades? That's the question. Maybe not, because if you look at exactly where how we define the course record get description method over here, we say that we only print out the letter grades when the instructor is not null, right? When the instructor is actually null over here, no instructor, so we don't include the letter grades. Otherwise, we include the letter grade. Okay, let's double check with this, and then we can see how we can include the letter grade by setting up the instructor very quickly. So now what we'll do is we're going to right-click on student tester 5 and say run as Java application. So what we'll get is, you can see course 2030, 1021, 3311. You can see no instructor just yet. So now that's why you see no letter grade over here. How can we set it up very quickly? Okay, let me simply just add in the instructor for all the 3 courses. So now what I can do is, after this, let me just say this. Before Sanhei was registered, let's set up the course instructor. Okay, let's say. I can say cr1 dot, before that, of course, I got to create a faculty. Okay, control space, and then let's choose the faculty from the model package. Faculty F1 is simply new. Faculty over here, let's say put myself, Jackie, and then let's say campus address Lausanne 2043, and also the extension, like that. Okay, and then let's set up the instructor. Let's say I teach all the 3 courses. Let's say cr1.set instructor, and then I'll put F1 here. And also similarly, cr2.set instructor to be F1 as well. And also cr3.set instructor, and then to be F3 as well. Okay, so now all the 3 courses, should be F1 and F1. Okay, all the same instructor. So now you can see that, so we learned about how to draw the diagram to reflect this, but now for simplicity, I'm just going to leave them as is. Okay, all we gotta care is about the letter grades and also GPA calculation for this current video. Okay, so after this, you can see that if we go back to the course record, get description method over here, instructor is not null anymore. So that means we're going to go for the else branch and print out the letter grades and return the letter grades. So now if we re-execute the letter tester 5, you can see exactly what we expect, right? You can see 2030, 1021, and 3311, they do have an instructor, which is myself over here. You can see all the 3 lines over here. Faculty Jackie, faculty, and faculty over here. So these lines are printed out from the return from the faculty get description method, as we said before. And now the letter grade is simply F, which makes sense because 0 is simply just a numerical mark, simply just letter grade F. The correspondence is actually right. And now let me just change. Well, how about we put an and in between? If you go to course record over here, and what we can say is, how about and letter grades? Okay. If I re-execute the program, we're going to say and letter grade F. So now what I want to do is let's try to very quickly set the marks quickly, which we learned in the previous video. If we go back to the student tester 5, let's say after this description over here, I'm going to set the marks. I can say s1.set marks. Let's say for the first course, 2030, let's say for 2030, let's say Sanhei got, let's say, what about some numerical marks? Let's say 89. Okay, so now I can say s1.set marks. The second course is 2021. So it's 1021 over here. So let's set the marks to be, what about 67? And then s1.set marks over here, that would be, oops. So now let's change that to be a string. Let's say 3311, which is the third course that she's taking. So now let's say this one here. What about, let's something that's different. What about 70? Okay, which would be B. Okay, so now we got these 3 marks to be set up. So what we intend to do is like this. Let me just change that very quickly on the iPad. For 2030, that should be 89. So now for 2030, we intend to change it to 89. And then for 1021, we intend to change it to 67. Okay, so 67 over here. And also for 3311, that should be 70. 3311, that should be 70. And we learned about how to trace the working for get marks and also set marks in the previous video. You can refer to them. Okay. So now, let's say after we set the marks, let's try to print out the description again. Okay, let's copy this line over here, and after the mutated method call, we print the description again. So now if we re-execute over here, what we will get is, you can see after that, we still got 3 courses for Sanhei. So now you can see 89 correspond to an A, and also 67 correspond to a C, and also 70 correspond to B. Okay, seems to be working. Now, what's really left is we want to really give a little bit more information for the students. You can see over here, we simply say they got 3 courses, they got A, they got C, they got B. But we'd like to include one more information, which is about the GPA, the grade point average. For example, you can see A correspond to the grade point 8, C correspond to the grade point 6, and B correspond to the grade point 7. So we want to add up the grade points together for all the registered courses for these students and then take their average. That's something we want to include as part of the information for students, okay, for the get description. Let's see how we can do this very quickly. So what we're going to do is, let's go to the student class over here. We'll add something over here. So we're going to define a method, Accessor method, which will do computation from all the course. Basically, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go over the courses for this student over here from 0 until NOC -1, right? That's kind of the pattern we talk about. And then we're going to actually go for each course record over here to really convert from their letter grades. In this case, letter grade would be, for example, A. And then to say A should really correspond to the grade point 8. And then we want to add up the grade points from each iteration to iteration. But how do we do that? Let's see very quickly. Okay, so the way you write the loops in this case would be very similar to how we did it previously. Okay, so now I would say double get GPA over here, and then let's say double over here. Eventually, I'm going to have GPA. Let's initially 0.0 and return GPA eventually. So now in the middle, what should I do? basically, as I said before, we're going to go over all the courses over here. Let's do it quickly. So what I would do is I would say for integer I. Okay, let me maximize it. Okay, so integer I is initialized to be 0 I less than this dot NOC, and we talked many times, this should be this dot NOC rather than this dot courses dot length to avoid null pointer exception. Okay, you can refer to the previous video for detailed discussion. And then I++ over here. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to see exactly how we can see if that's the first iteration, we should be looking at this particular course record objects. What's its letter grade? In the second iteration, we will be looking at this particular course record object and what's that letter grade. So what I will do is we can say, first of all, course record, declare a local variable over here. We can say C is assigned to let's say this courses over here at position I. Okay, just declare local variable here, and then we can get the letter grades. Let's say string LG for letter grades is assigned to C dot get letter grade that we just defined, right? You can definitely simplify these two lines into a single line, so you don't have the intermediate course record objects variable. Okay, let me show you how you can do it. Let me just select these two lines, control / and put it into comments. Let me show you the one-line version. You can say string LG is assigned to this courses at position I. Okay, exactly this part over here. So we just don't have the intermediate variable over here. Okay, and then we say dot get letter grade. Okay, so hopefully by now you have seen many examples about using the dot notation. If you're still not comfortable, please refer to the previous video. We did talk about many examples over there. Okay, now that would be letter grade. Now we want to know what a grade point is. So maybe outside the loop, we can declare double grade points over here. Let's say initially also 0.0. So we're going to add up all the grade points into GP. So now we can do some if statement to decide. We can say if LG dot equals over here, if it is simply A+, we know that the GP is simply 9, right? So you say GP plus equal, which is accumulated by 9. Okay, and also we can say else if LG dot equals, if it's actually A, in that case the grade point should be accumulated by 8. Okay, similarly, okay, let me just do some copy and paste to speed up. So what we get over here is else if it is, let's say B, over here is going to be 7. If it is going to be C, and it's going to be 6. And if it is going to be D, and that should be 5. And finally, if it is actually F, okay, if it is F, it's just going to be 0, let's say. Okay, so now we got all the GP accumulated between each iterations. So now outside the iteration, GP would have been accumulated by all the grade points. For example, the grade point for letter grade A+, the grade point for the letter grade B, and C, and also the grade point for the letter grade B over here. Okay, we're going to see that. So what we'll do is we're going to say integer, let's say after this, we're going to say GPA is going to be reassigned to whatever the GP is eventually divided by how many courses do we have. If we simply say this courses length, is it going to be correct though? No, because you can see in this particular case, the size of the array, this courses length will be 5. However, there's only 3 courses over here. So what should we use to really divide? We should really use the value for NOC over here, the number of courses. Okay, be careful. So now, rather than saying this, I'm going to say this NOC over here. Okay, so now eventually going to return the GPA. So now finally, I'm going to include this information over here in the get description over here for the student class. We'll verify that, and then we'll trace it very quickly at a high level together with you. So now we can say the students has registered this many courses. Okay, and then we can say over here. Okay, what I will do is, okay, let's say this. This get with GPA over here plus, okay, this dot get GPA plus, like that. Okay, so now let me split it a little bit so it make it easy for you. Has registered this many courses. Has registered this many courses, and then with the GPA, and then whatever the return value for get GPA is. Okay, that's what we get. Now let's re-execute the tester over here and let's see what we get. If you re-execute it, you can see that over here. Let me just change. It seems to be alright, but I just need to change this particular layout a little bit quickly. Okay, if I just go back to the student class. Okay, what I will get is with GPA over here, and then I want to get closing parentheses over here as well. So it'd be prettier when it gets printed. If now I do that, okay, so you can see initially you simply get zeros. You simply get F, F, and F. Okay, you simply got 0.0. What about here? It'll be 8 plus 6 plus 7, which will be 21. 21 divided by 3 courses, you get 7.0. Okay, it's correct calculation. So now everything seems to work. Okay, so now we have done 2 extra Accessor methods for you. The get letter grades in the course record class, and also the get GPA in the student class. Okay, so these 2 methods, hopefully you can see how they work. But for completeness, I would like to trace them very quickly together with you. Okay, so now what I would like to do is to go to the course record over here. The student class. Okay, all I need to do is I want to just copy one part of the just the get GPA. Okay, that's all I need. Okay, I'm going to just copy this part and go back to iPad over here, and then I'm just going to paste it quickly. Okay, let me just let's see how big will be enough. Okay, let's see over here. Let's put it here. Okay, you know what? Let me also make the diagram over here a little bit smaller so that's easier for us to see everything here. Okay, I'm gonna resize over here. So now let's do this. Okay, so now everything will be fit into place. Okay, so now what I will do is let's trace it very quickly. I don't necessarily have to trace every line with you. I want to give you just enough information so you will get it. So basically what we are talking about is this particular method call. So when we say s1 dot get GPA, okay, when we say this, the context object now is s1. So that means every occurrence of this is going to be replaced by s1. So you can see this will be s1, and also this over here will also be s1. Okay, that's for this particular method call. So now specifically, what's s1 .NOC? It's going to be 3 courses. It will just be 3. So that means how many iterations are we going to run? We're going to run 3 iterations. I will be 0, 1, and also 2. Okay. So now when I is simply equal to 0 for this first iteration, let's see what's going to happen. So that means when we calculate the letter grades, it's going to return something like this. It's going to be S1, the context object over here, dot courses at position 0 dot get letter grades. Okay, so what do we have specifically? So that means when you go S1 over here, courses is going to refer to this particular array, and then at position 0 is referring to this green courses over here. So now when you talk about this particular course and dot get letter grades, so what do we have? Get letter grades. So if you, that means we're going to execute the get letter grade method, which I didn't show over here. But it's quite easy because we know that 89 is going to give us A over here, right? And then for A over here, we know that A is going to match in this particular case. So that means grade point will be accumulated by 8. So grade point over here started with grade point GP. Let me write it more properly. GP started with 0.0 and then it's going to be accumulated by 8. Okay, so it's 8 for the first iteration. What about the second iteration? For the second iteration, we're going to see I will be 1. So now when we try to go for this particular one, what we get is s1.courses at position 1 dot get letter grade. I'll say LG just for short for letter grades. And now in this case, S1 courses at position 1 is really referring to this particular orange object over here. So now for this particular object, when you say that object dot get letter grades, so what do you get over here? Okay, so now that means based on the calculation for 67, it should be C. Okay, so that means it should return back to a C. So now that means we got C over here. So C is matching this. So it's going to accumulate GP 8 plus 6 will be 14. Okay, finally, let's go to the final iteration over here. So now finally, we're going to go to I being 2, right? And then we're going to execute the same line over here. Let's say S1 dot courses at position 2 dot get letter grades over here, right? So now what would that be? So now S1 again, courses at position 2 is now referring to this particular object over here, the pink one over here. The mark is simply 70, right? What should be the corresponding letter grade? We know that it should be B, right? If you call the get letter grade method. So now it's going to return back to us B. And B is matching this particular branch over here. So that means GP will be accumulated by 7. So now from 14 to by 7 will be 21. So now finally, when we exit from the loop, so GPA will be equal to 21 over here. S1.NOC, as we know, is 3. So that's how we get 7.0. Okay, that's a very quick trace at a high level. Again, it's really important for you to understand the dot notation when you got multiple dots, and also how you can make a method call when the context object may be consisting of multiple dots over here. This is a context object, that's a context object, that's also the context objects, right? As we talk about thoroughly in the previous video. Okay, so now we are done with the last two methods. Now let me make a very quick conclusion for you, and then we are done for the series, the case study. So now what we have done here, basically we have defined 3 different classes in the model package. We got at the bottom level faculty, we also got a class called CourseRecord, where the attributes instructor is of type faculty. Okay, that's really important for you to know what the consequence is for aliasing. And also for the student class at the top level, we also got an array of CourseRecord. That's also very important for you to see the pattern. You're required to actually learn about this particular pattern using the array, primitive array, and also as a simple integer counter to do the logic. You are forbidden to use any library classes in Java. Okay, after this, we also talk about the various situations about aliasing. Specifically, you really want to be very comfortable with tracing things like this to really see how you can draw diagrams from the tester I give to you and see how you can see which objects might be which object variable might be storing the same address. That's the aliasing concept you really want to get used to from this tutorial video. Okay, so that's about what I want to say, and you really want to go over all the methods and also all the classes and attributes to really understand every detail over here. It does say a lot of OOP more advanced stuff over here in this tutorial video. If you got trouble, review the videos or speak to me.